Social network theory. This video provides a brief discussion of social network theory. The presentation was prepared by Cliff Soriano, Rafael Arias, and Keith Weir. What is social network theory? The first thing that may come to mind when one hears the term social network theory is online social networking because of the recent popularity of such sites as MySpace, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. While these sites provide well-structured communication platforms, they only provide a means of communication between the various individuals, groups, and organizations that comprise a network within an online environment. Social network theory focuses on relationships between the components of a network rather than focusing on the characteristics of the component. A network diagram is often used to provide a visual representation of a social network. In a social network, there exist nodes, represented on a network diagram by circles, and ties, which are the solid lines linking the various nodes that comprise the network. In this case, nodes can be considered as people or points in the network. Then the ties are the relationships between the people. The diagram below provides a visual illustration of a social network. In its most basic form, the entities represented by nodes in the diagram below can be considered people, and the solid lines represent their relationships to other people. As these people develop more and more relationships, they form groups. In this instance, the diagram can represent an individual's relationship with the group, a group's relationship with other groups, a group's relationship to a larger organization, and an organization's relationship to the environment around them. Agency. This area refers to people's capacity inside a social network to act individually. The idea is that the smaller the group, the stronger the ties or relationships within the group. Because these relationships are strong, it is often difficult for individuals to act independently within a group setting. As these groups grow larger, the relationships weaken and more people influence each other's actions and behaviors. Individuals then have a greater capacity to act independent of the group. Social networks theory describes how people, individuals, or individual companies are affected by their surrounding ties or relationships. Subaru provides an example of this. People are connected to the natural environment and have grown more and more committed to protecting and preserving the natural environment. Subaru recognized this trend and wished to form a relationship with the growing number of people who have strong ties with the environmental or green movement. In order to facilitate the forming of this relationship, Subaru invested millions of dollars into manufacturing plants to make them green and reduce their impact on the environment. Subaru hopes to position themselves as having a common relationship with its customers who support this green initiative. Levels of social networking. Social networking can be broken down into different levels based on the size of groups. There's the micro level, the meso level, and the macro level. The micro level. Individually, people work and communicate through their relationships with other people. These relationships can be either positive or negative. That is, the relationship can vary in likeness or dislike, causing either person to take different actions. Meso level. A meso level is comprised of more than two people, but smaller than organizations, clubs, or companies. A group of coworkers can be defined as the meso level of your company. Examples are how the morale of workers, their performance, or conduct affect the success of the company. Enron executives were inflating the stock price through numerous techniques and misleading public statements. Enron top-level executives could be considered an example of a meso level. As large as Enron was, Its success depended primarily on a small group of top-level executives and the decisions they made. At the top level, executives had strong ties through business processes, shared documents, financial motivation, and communication techniques, as well as a strong reciprocal tie with their accounting firm. Because of the small size of this group of executives and the strong business interrelationships they had formed, as corruption became accepted, it was difficult for those who knew to act contrary to the actions of the group. Before anyone was brave enough to blow the whistle on these corrupt actions, an immense amount of damage had already been done. The macro level. The macro level is the largest size of a network. It usually involves large groups of people or organizations and how they interact on a global scale. An example could be China's economic status, their GDP, and how it affects neighboring economies on issues related to global market dynamics. Economies have become more regionally and globally integrated. Large economic powers, such as China, have had profound effects on the financial prosperity of local region states, as well as the prosperity of nations throughout the world. Decisions made by these large global economic players have provided both positive and negative ripple effects throughout the modern global financial infrastructure. On a business level, an example could be the ties between senior executives and how it influences their business. An example could be the relationships among businesses with common business processes and business functions, or the products that they produce. These relationships could influence transactions such as corporate takeovers, mergers, and companies asking for or receiving bailouts. In a business environment, relationships are based on a hierarchy of authority, from the top level executives to the senior directors and managers, and down to the mid-level managers and their employees. While this hierarchical structure has been effective in years past, technology has facilitated an increase in knowledge sharing and accessibility. Modern companies are now looking for ways to flatten this hierarchical structure and distribute decision-making processes across the company to take advantage of the multitude of knowledge supplied by a diversity of lower-level employees. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. The following is a list of resources used in the development of this presentation.